This is our tribe. We look out for each other. That's right, that's right. This is our tribe. We help each other grow in business and life. That's right, that's right. No need to panic anymore. We got lots of support and an army of warriors by our side. We fight the good fight when we unite. We fight the good fight when we unite. 'Cause that's what a tribe does. We got your back so you can relax and focus on all the important stuff, like getting your business done. This is our tribe. We look out for each other. That's right, that's right. This is our tribe. We help each other grow in business and life. That's right, that's right.
Hello and welcome to the one and only coffee shop conversation show. I am Nestene.
And the only name that's left is Peter.
So we are the co-founders of Explore ProTech Entrepreneurial Haven. We are here with some of our very best friends and amazing entrepreneurs from around the world, and we are ready to do what we do every single Monday. What do we do every Monday, Pinky?
Take over the world.
No, wrong show.
Oh, sorry. We have the coffee shop conversation show.
We create an hour where entrepreneurs from around the world can literally just come together. It's like we're having coffee, right? We're going into a coffee shop together. We're having coffee. We're sharing our views, and we're just talking about entrepreneurial stuff. And the idea is that you can connect with the best entrepreneurs in the world. You can feel safe, and you can also learn something in the process. So today, very, very excited to be here with Mary and Sandra. Our topic for today is going to be entrepreneurs raising up other entrepreneurs. So I am so excited to be getting into this topic with these two. What do you think about the topic that we're discussing today, Peter?
Well, actually, the topic for today is actually a topic that's really close to my heart. I've got this thought process that it takes an entrepreneur to raise an entrepreneur. It's almost like there are people out there that are extremely successful, whether it be through entrepreneurship or whatever type of business they run, and people see their success and they want to be just like them. Why not create a space where we can actually help and build each other? Now, I think it's very important. Instead of creating a space where you create excitement, where you go, oh, you can be just like me if you take these steps, and you can be this wealthy if you take. But then there's no backup. After the excitement, what happens after the excitement? We leave the speech going all excited. Okay, what do we do next? Well, they actually didn't really tell us. We just all got excited. So to motivational speakers, have a plan for after your speech. This is where community comes in. This is where people need to be building each other and helping each other. So I'm actually really excited about today's topic.
And guys, I have such a cool story to share with you as well on today's topic. So this is something very, very special. In our community, we run a program uplifting entrepreneurs and really accelerating them through business. It's called the Fempreneur program. It's $1,500 program. So that's how much it costs to get the 9 global coaches on board to actually coach you through this process. It's obviously a life-changing process.
It is an amazing process.
Now, the thing is, a lot of the people that actually deserve to go through this program and that have the ability to create these amazing success stories at the end of this program can't afford to pay for the program up front, to just go through it, because it's like paying for 9 global coaches.
Yeah, I don't ever see that finances should be something that should decide whether or not somebody should be helped or not. There's always a way around something.
And that is where someone as beautiful as Mary comes in, and all the other amazing tribe members in our network that has been supporting the campaign and the program as well. So we have crowdfunding partners on board. BackaBuddy, they literally open up their platform and they give entrepreneurs that want to complete our program but that can't necessarily afford the program straight off the bat, they give them the opportunity to literally crowdfund for their fees, which means different people from around the world that believe in this entrepreneur success and want to accelerate their story can donate in order to help this person pay for their tuition. So one of our candidates, Traci Howell, she is on her way to establishing a virtual assistant agency, and she's one of those people that just deserves to go through this program. So we found Traci, fell in love with her, decided she's one of the people that needs to be helped, and then we found Mary, and Mary fell in love with the story, and Mary has literally volunteered her time. She's reached out to her network. She has sent out emails. She has helped Traci just like so much with this campaign in order to raise her tuition. And I'm telling you guys, like right now, Traci is almost at the 50% mark on her actual campaign. I mean, how exciting is that? That's like one more entrepreneur. Like, I mean, do you know how amazing it is to have access to 9 global coaches for 16 weeks? That's something life-changing. Like the amount of growth that can be created in your business because of that is just incredible. And I think the fact that someone like Mary, who is an established entrepreneur, would go and say, it's fine. A hero is needed. I'm going to step up. I will be that hero. I can't be the hero for everybody, but I'm definitely going to be the hero for Traci. I mean, when most of us in our lives are literally going right now, like, I am not even cooking you lunch. I have no time. I do not care. That is a you problem. And Mary's just like, oh, a campaign to raise all of this money so that Traci can realize her dreams. Yes, I have time for that. I will give it my all. I mean, Mary, that is just incredible. Do you maybe want to tell us a bit more about what inspired you to step up and be this person for Traci? Because I think that is commendable. That is incredible. Do you have like not enough to do in your business?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, right. I'm looking for side gigs. No, I really, this whole, when you approached me with this opportunity, it really struck a chord within my heart, not in my head, because my head is, telling me, oh, Mary, you got this, that, and the other thing to do. Focus over here. Don't get distracted. But there's something about this. And, for me, what it really came down to was a couple of things. One was believing in somebody before they can believe in themselves. And when I look back at my own experience from my childhood all the way to where I am now, there has always been somebody who believed in me when they had no external reason to believe in me at all. And without that belief, I would not have been able to believe in myself. And so that was really the first reason why I said, yes, I believe in Traci. I believe in her mission. And I'm gonna put my energy behind this. The other part of it was, a situation came up last week. So when I first burned out from being a leader and decided that I wanted to become a coach that I wish that I had, I was so naive. Like I literally quit my job and then thought, well, I'll figure out how to build this business, right? I knew nothing about how to build a business, absolutely nothing. And I stayed at home for a year doing next to nothing to build my business because I didn't know what to do and I didn't know who I could trust. And last week, a memory popped up on Facebook. 10 years ago, last Monday, was the morning of my first internet radio show. So before I was doing podcasting, which I do now, my first effort was to do an internet radio show. And when I woke up that morning, I had no internet and I had no phone. And I thought, wow. Oh my God, what do I do now? Right. I mean, this is entrepreneurship in a nutshell. You've got to show up, and the one thing that you need, you don't have. So what are you going to do? And that reminding me of that experience really brought me back to that whole year of experience where I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know who I could trust. And when I thought about Traci, actually, I thought about Traci in this context, and I thought, she's got this fempreneur program, a program, as you say, with 9 coaches that will help her, that will align with her values, first of all, and then help her build a business that is right for her. Because that's the other thing too. I think a lot of business coaches come in with their strategy. Here's how you build a business, and then try to fit us around their strategy. And that never has worked for me. And that was part of my inability to trust anyone, because I didn't want to try to fit myself into somebody else's system. And so I've got this fresh memory of me knowing what it felt like in that first year, before I knew what to do, before I knew who I could trust. And even then, people were believing in me when I couldn't believe in myself. And all of that has gotten to me where I am today.
I like that.
That is really amazing. I just have to ask, how on earth did you manage to show up for the internet radio show without a phone and without internet? Like, how was it fixed?
Well, so that's part of another story. So one of my new strategies, so my old Mary at the time, and so here's my experience. That morning I woke up, saw what was going on. And I don't know about you and what it's like in other places around cable companies, but I've got an internal disdain for cable companies and their customer service, right? My automatic assumption is that I'm not going to get the support that I need in the time that I need it. And I'm going to get the entire runaround. And so that morning I asked myself, do I want to take my usual route of being combative and insistent and demanding? Or could I take a softer route and just say, be curious, what is possible here? So I decided to take the curious, softer approach. And well before I needed to log on and show up for my radio show, internet and phone were both working perfectly. And I believe that it was my attitude that really paved the way for that outcome. Because if I would have shown up defensive and demanding with the cable company, I think that's what I would have gotten in return. They, a lot of runaround, a lot of, try this, try that, and nothing would have worked. So that whole story really represents that the value of that question of how can I show up with curiosity here, even when my old way would have been to show up, being very demanding and insistent. And so now I love the question of what else is possible here. So I have to tell another part of this story. So that Monday, I was recording a podcast, because now I do this podcast called Fully Alive. It's the podcast for conscious entrepreneurs who are hungry to live their purpose, expand their impact, and create with ease. And it's still pretty new. So I'm still pretty excited about it in terms of there's some anxiety in terms of systems. Do I have everything set up and ready to go? And so when I showed up, and my guest showed up, I said to her specifically, I want to make sure I hit record on this, because a couple of weeks ago I forgot to hit record and I didn't have a podcast. But I'm not going to let that happen today. So I hit record. And something didn't feel quite right to me, but I said to myself, you hit record, don't worry about it, move on. When I went back later and so we have in this podcast conversation, this question about how does it get any better than this come up? And I told the story about my first day of my internet radio show. I didn't know it was 10-year anniversary to the day that this had happened. And so here I was again, asking myself that question, how does it get any better than this? Because later that afternoon, when I went to get my recording, all I had was a transcript. I did not have audio and I did not have video. Oh. And so once again, I'm asking myself, what do I do with this? Like, I can't make a podcast. I have a transcript. And I played this out in my head. Maybe I get a friend of mine to, reenact this with me and reread the script and it becomes that kind of a podcast. I don't know. I'm looking for options here, right? But I went back to how does it get better than this? And so in the meantime, I emailed the guest saying, this is what's going on now. I don't know what to make of this. Let's see what happens. And sure enough, the next morning in my inbox, here's an email that says, here's your recording. And I had the video and the audio all together. It's exactly what I wanted and needed. But again, I'm leaning into that question of what else is possible, because if I hadn't done that, I would have gotten all wrapped up into, well, here I go again. I screwed up again. I wasted my guest's time, right? I would have just gotten into this whole beating myself up piece, which would have held me back. And instead, it slowed me down for the afternoon. But by the next morning, I allowed that space. I allowed that solution to come to me, and it did. And now I'm able to use it and publish it.
Nice. The one thing that you mentioned that really struck a chord with me was there's always that someone that you get to that gets to put in that positive word, or actually get to see something in you that maybe other people don't see. And I think that particular someone starts for most people at quite a young age.
Yeah.
If they think back through their schooling career, there's always that particular teacher. There's always that, and it won't be all teachers. It'll just be that one that would consistently say to you, "There's something more to you. That like you like, there's something more to you. There's so much more that you have to give," or acknowledging what you have already given.
Yeah.
Where most other people don't seem to notice at all. And I think it doesn't take very much, especially for people in positions of authority. It doesn't take very much to actually just stop gazing at your own belly button and just for a second turn around and actually see the people around you and recognize them.
Yeah. We want to be seen and we want to be heard. There's so much value in that.
You will be amazed at what people will actually, how much it drives them to do better, how much it drives them to, even if it's just to continue. Somebody's at that point where they're like, oh, you know what, I can't anymore.
Yep.
And just that little bit of recognition gives them the energy that they need to go, you know what, actually, I can do this, I've got this, I'm going to push through. And sometimes that little bit of push through is just what the person needed to actually get to where they were going, instead of just not bothering with the people around you and just keep focusing on yourself, your own career. Other people don't matter. They're stepping stones. Think differently.
Mm-hmm.
You take enough people that are stepping stones. If you encourage them, they become bridges. You don't want to step on people. You want to help them build, because that actually gets you to where you're going. So this is a very passionate conversation for me. I love this conversation.
I think it gives us so much hope as well, just in general, because at the moment there's so many negative things happening in the world. It's so easy to just wake up and just focus on those. Yeah. And then to know, there's someone like Mary out there that's literally just raising funds for another entrepreneur because she feels like that person needs to be seen, needs to know that they have support. And there's a whole institution we're working with, like Mancosa, who has just bought 26 students. And we're currently interviewing those people.
Oh, they're incredible.
And then we're telling them, usually this program costs $1,500, but for you it's absolutely free because the institution that you're studying just decided to just buy it for you because they believe that is what's necessary right now.
And we're getting to meet the lucky few that are actually getting to do that program.
It gives you so much hope again for humanity. And then you meet someone like Sandra on the coffee shop show, and the first thing she says is like, oh yeah, remember that job that I was organizing for that entrepreneur that you're so close to? Yeah, I'm still doing that. That's going to be really cool. I mean, that is just, I feel so blessed to be surrounded with people like you, to be honest. Because it is a struggle. I don't know if you guys ever feel this, but it is a struggle these days with all of the negativity going on. And this just literally is that thing for me that's there's a beacon, just follow the beacon.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we all know negativity is just words, right?
And thoughts.
Well, it's thoughts, it's words.
Is that your official definition?
But negativity, you can combat negativity by just making slightly different choices. It actually doesn't. I mean, often when we are faced with like everything that's like looming around us, whether it be financial, whether it be personal, whether it be, doesn't matter what it is, those thoughts creep into our heads, and then we seem to let those thoughts turn into words, and they seem to come out of our mouths. And the more it comes out of our mouth, the more we speak it over ourselves, and then the more we actually turn what was a thought into something that is actually a reality.
Yes.
And I think that we do ourselves so much harm when, in actual fact, if we just stop for a second and we can see not only ourselves but others and encourage others, the more we are using that encouragement, the more we are using a different language to the negativity, the more it feeds right back to us, and then we have the ability to actually change our negativity. Because I know this to be true for a fact. If you have a drug addict, the best way to help a drug addict is to find another drug addict for that drug addict to help.
Sure.
Give that addict a purpose. Give them a purpose. Not just don't do anything, survive the week, and then try not to take any drugs.
Right.
No, here is somebody that is really battling. They're walking the same road as you, and it's your job to help them. And you give them purpose. That is that addict's road to recovery. It's and it's much the same in entrepreneurship. Give an entrepreneur that is walking a journey, instead of constantly focusing on the journey ahead, to also be able to look back and look at others that are on the same road and going, oh, no, don't do that. I tried that and it really didn't work. Here, I already found the solution. Try this. How much more supportive is the person you're helping going to be to your journey once you've empowered them? It's incredible. Now turn that into a community.
Yeah.
That becomes this existential space where people can just build and grow and achieve and learn, and the negativity can just, we can take a backseat.
Yeah. What came to my mind as you were describing that is like the safe pod. There is negativity. Like we've been conditioned we have a negativity bias, right? We're built with that in our system, and that we're going to see what's not working. We're going to see what are the potential threats. This is our survival system. So, this whole negativity thing, we really have been conditioned to buy into this system and everything, and it's global, right? I thought, well, maybe this is just the US kind of work ethic or something. This is global, right? We buy into this idea that I might not be enough, and so I've got to prove that I'm enough. And I really, really need to want to be connected to people. At our core, we need connection to one another. And so at a very early age, we learn to shape ourselves around what other people around us want and need. And then we think that's what we're supposed to be doing for the rest of our lives. And that's what I was doing for my life. And that's what I got stuck in, is thinking that I had to keep adjusting myself to what everybody else was expecting of me. There was a right way. I needed to figure out what that right way was, because nobody was just going to tell me what the right way was. I had to figure it out. But they're also going to be judging me whether I was right or not, right? All of this is what's going on in my head, right? Yeah. And so, that comes at a tremendous cost. And that is why I do what I do now. When I mentioned earlier, as I was burning out from leadership, my heart wanted to be that leader that created this space, that allowed for risk taking, so that there can be innovation. So we're not just replicating what we've always done and what we already know, but we're willing to go out and see what else is possible. What else can happen here, right? Some of these core questions that I mentioned earlier, I wanted to be that person. And I thought to be that person, I needed to do the right things. And that if I just did the right things, then the right results would show up. That's what I was trusting. And literally when my superintendent pulled me in as he was counseling me out, this is my last public education job, he pulled me into his office and he opens with, "Mary, it's not what you're doing." He said, "I would be doing exactly what you're doing, but what you're doing is not working. So you have to figure this out or you have to go. That was a hard lesson for me to hear, that it's not what I'm doing. Because if it's not what I'm doing, how else am I supposed to, what other levers do I have to create the change, to create the outcomes that I want if it's not doing? And so when I went back to my desk after this very emotional conversation, I asked myself, Mary, how are you contributing to this? Because up until then, to be honest, it was everybody else. It was the teachers, it was the unions, it was the principals, it was the family, it was everything. It wasn't me, I was the solution, right? So now I have this come to Jesus meeting with myself. Mary, how are you contributing to this? And what showed up for me was a framework that I learned in one of my psychology classes called the Johari window. And think of quadrants. There's four quadrants. And there's part of you that you know and everybody else knows. But there's also part of you that you don't know and no one else does either. And when that showed up for me in response to that question, how am I contributing to this? What seemed obvious to me is whatever is in my unknown quadrant is contributing to the problem, that I'm doing the right things, but what's in this unknown quadrant is holding me back. And when I looked at what is in this unknown quadrant, it's our unconscious beliefs. Our unconscious beliefs are in this unknown quadrant. And so I had hoped that all of my personal traumas and challenges could be left at home. And at work, I would just show up and do what I was supposed to do. But what was happening is while I was doing the right things, I was confusing the heck out of my team members, because on the one hand, they could see rationally, we're doing the right things. This is what we should be doing. And yet when Mary asks us to do this, I don't want to do this. This doesn't feel right. I'm going to push back on her. And it was because my defensive energy was coming through the right actions. So even though I set up all the right systems, I'm showing up as this highly defensive person. I have to be right, which means most of the time you're wrong. And what else? I have to be right. You're wrong. Let's just leave that. That's the core of it. And so, of course, it was hard for people to trust me and then to actually follow through on the plans that we had agreed on doing and all of those things. And so that's what I focus on with my clients now, is what are those unconscious beliefs and behavior patterns that we've brought with us since childhood that we think are, locked away on a shelf deep in our psyche somewhere, keeping out of sight, out of mind, but it's not. It's there. It's always there in how we communicate, how we express who we are, because it is who we are. Our beliefs are who we are.
Yeah, I think it takes those moments, and I think a lot of coaches, and this is what I like about a lot of coaches, will coach from a space where they've actually had those aha moments of, oh goodness me, I actually didn't realize. And just that thought process becomes something that they can actually not only help themselves, but they can actually help others. I think that to me is a thing of beauty.
I just love listening to you. One, because Sandra made me answer all of these questions, like for some reason. Last week, she was like, she sends me these questions. We have this thing that we do where we send each other like quizzes and like kind of keep each other accountable for fun and stuff. And she was sending me questions from a book that she was reading, and it was like about like, what have you done just because other people have expected it of you? Something, it was like along these lines. Yeah. So I actually just worked through that. And then as you were talking, I actually realized like, oh my goodness, that was so me. That is what I did to Peter not too long ago. Like,
I remember all too well.
Because I can't help it, Mary. Like, I am trained in systems. I am a freaking auditor. Like, whether you like it or not, like, I'm an auditor, so I'm good at systems.
I don't even know what a system is.
And I've also read a lot about leadership. So I have these systems in place that are supposed to help us run our business perfectly, which that's probably part of the problem, that I wanted to run perfectly. It's a business. It's not going to perfectly.
Right.
And I was doing them very well, and Peter just wasn't doing them at all. It just was not working. It was not working. at all.
It's still not working.
But today we work together quite well. Like today was better.
We did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it goes to show that people just have different ways of working.
But today we did exactly the same system. I just did it a different way. Which is also there where it was like, it's like running into a wall, kind of like what I experienced. Like you're doing exactly the right thing. And I also have that thing where I'm like, if I do the right things, then I deserve the outcomes, because let's be honest, that's why I'm doing the things. I do this, I get that. That's how I work as a human. And then with this, it just doesn't work that way. And I had to like keep running into this wall until I was like, well, Nestene, if there's something here, like if there's something's got to change. Yep. Because you're doing exactly the right things, but it's just not having the results that it's supposed to be having. So that was such a cool moment, hearing you like explain it and the way that it happened to you. And it is so cool.
Yeah. You know, that's interesting you mentioned that, because I was just thinking this morning about our relationships and why we're in relationships. And I would say that one of the reasons to be in relationship is that the other person has a way of holding up that mirror to us, whether they know they're doing this or not. They can hold up that mirror and show us another way of being, right? So my husband is not, my husband is not a systems person either. I'm systems. I love systems. So much to
right. They have no opinions or feelings.
Right. Exactly. You're right. It's not messy. It's very clean. Like, so I love my refrigerator to be structured in such a way that I can grab whatever I want without knocking anything else down, without having to searching to the back of the fridge. Where is this? And my husband's not like that. You just throw stuff in the fridge. That's good enough. Right.
And so when it's nighttime and the lights are off, opening the fridge, if there's no power and there's no light in the fridge, it should feel like a lucky draw. Not that there's a system in place that I know if I position my hand right here, I'm going to get the milk. It's more exciting if you just reach in and rumble around and go, ooh, that feels good.
That causes science experiments, because then you don't know what's growing in the back of your fridge.
Thank you, Sandra.
Systems.
I think that you bring up really good points and really good questions, because in my systems mind, I don't make room for those questions. I do not leave room for the magic of, oh, what might I pull out tonight? Right? I think I want water, but maybe it's not water. Maybe I want juice. Maybe there's something else in here that I didn't even remember that was in here. That's exactly what I want right now.
Well, can you imagine organizing an adventure?
I think Sandra's having a silent heart attack in the background, just like me.
Where you organize the adventure so well that every single day has an itinerary and a time and a lot of time, that you know exactly what you're doing on day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. Well, then it's not an adventure anymore. You want to wake up on the morning of an adventure and go, what are we doing today? I don't know. Let's go. Yeah. That's why it's called an adventure. So for me, I completely ignore systems, and I completely ignore lists, and I completely ignore a lot of things. And I think it's just, for me, about having fun in the moment, enjoying the moment, and make out of the moment what it's meant to be. Right. And the moment will decide what it is. I mean, like, for instance, coming onto the show, I don't prepare for these shows.
We are very well aware, Peter.
I do not prepare for these shows. Sorry, what was the topic?
Because I have to over-prepare to compensate for you not preparing.
You know each other.
I understand that line of thinking.
You know each other's styles and your superpowers. So Nestene, you're going to have a YouTube already set up. You're going to stream. You know what the topic is. Peter is very comfortable because he knows he can walk in and you already did it. So you're working in your superpowers, even though you might be driving each other crazy. I get it. As a spouse, our significant other. But I think that is really the key. And, back to the original topic, raising entrepreneurs up, is figuring out each other's superpowers and what are you good at? And making that I call it the zone of genius. If I can keep you in your zone of genius and outsource the rest, and outsource is not a bad word, outsource is raising up other entrepreneurs, giving them opportunities, whether it's education, internship, barter, all those things. Of course, there needs to be some systems, Peter, and some structure to that so that you know who's supposed to do what and when. So Peter knows he has to show up for this call, Nestene shows up for this call. So I think you do embrace systems more than you probably think you do, because yeah, otherwise you guys would crash and burn. You got to have a pilot. You got to have a pilot. If you think of an airplane, I am doing a group where they use the assessment as an airplane. So there's pilots, there's stewardess, there's air traffic control, and there's grounds crew. And each has a vital role. Everybody has all four personalities in them. Just some are stronger. So mine's grounds crew and air traffic control. So I love supporting. I love to help with systems. Do I want to be a pilot? Not really. Not my strong suit. Can I? Yes. Have I? Yes. Did I do it earlier today? Yes. Like I can step in that role. But I do not want to stay in that role because that will exhaust me. Like stuff like this, I can do once or twice a week, but I don't want to show up live in big groups and stuff. That's not my superpower. Let me be in the background doing all the things. So I think it's really, you complement each other, even if you drive each other's crazy at the same time. But as entrepreneurs, we need all four of those things in our life and in our business. And it's really important to realize that, because there's I don't know a business that's run by one person successfully long-term. Initially, yeah.
Sure.
I think something I just want to highlight that you mentioned that actually it's always pretty much always on my mind is that, entrepreneurs on this journey of thinking they have to be everything.
Mm-hmm.
I've got news for you. You can't. It's impossible. You cannot be everything. You cannot be marketing and sales and the CEO and the T-boy, which I am often.
You're very good at that.
I'm very good at that. I make good tea. You can't be everything in your business, and if you think you can be, and if you're kind of getting it right, well then good luck, because you're going to burn out.
Yes.
That space of growing and developing your space, you need people around you. You have to have people around you. And, a lot of people think, I've got to scale my business, which means I've got to do X, Y, and Z and A, B, C, and I've got to go get a loan, and I've got to hire people, and I've got to do this, I've got to do that. No, you don't. What you've got to do is figure out who are the people that are around you that are supportive, who are the people that are around you that have the skill sets, who are the people that you can empower them by positioning them in your space. And like Sandra said earlier, outsourcing. Outsourcing actually builds other entrepreneurs in an amazing way. Don't be scared to outsource. Be very scared of choosing the wrong person, though.
Yes. I was just about to say, to the right people.
To the right people.
And then the other part, right. And the other part of outsourcing is that you have to know your own processes to be able to outsource and what to delegate. So if you don't have processes, then you don't know what to delegate. Then you're just throwing a bait in an ocean, hoping to catch something, and you might catch the whale. And I know when I help people with that, that's something I do help people with, is that what do you do? What do you not want to do? How do you do it? You have a process, whether you know it or not, because you do it. Mm-hmm. So you obviously have some kind of process. Like people are like, I don't have processes. I'm like, you do, because you obviously put out a podcast. Mary puts out a podcast. There's a process to it. She might not have it written down to know the details, but yeah, I was just, again, going with a client over that too. And I'm like, oh, you forgot to tell me you need to record the intro for each particular session. We have the intro, the outro, And so the VA was waiting on the intro for that session. And I'm like going, why isn't this done? And she's like, oh, it was my bad. I'm like, you missed that step in the process when I was writing out your process. Now I know each episode needs its own individual introduction of the guest, blah, 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 blah. But we just had to tweak her process. And I'm like, okay, now I know what I need to get from you to get to her as the manager of this project. But yeah, I've had people go, oh, wait, and then come back and be like, just write down, take your day and be like, I did this email marketing and I did A, B, C, D, and E. And just keep writing it out as you go along. And I've had people come back with like 10. I've asked for 2 and they come back with 10. Like people, like, you do it. You obviously do it. So there's a process. You might not label it that way, but everybody has.
Yeah.
Sandra, I think you should call yourself a scaling coach. Like, I just had this light bulb moment for you. Like, I was like, if you're scaling, like, you need a Sandra by your side to help you figure out all of this.
I mean, I definitely would, because I don't follow a process, but it doesn't mean I don't have one.
Have one. Do you do it consistently? Do you do it consistently, Peter? I think that would probably be the thing that trips you up, is you don't do it consistently the same way every time.
I know, I do it different every time.
You're a psychic as well. It's like you read minds.
He's super creative. So creative people struggle with doing stuff the same way consistently because they feel it, downgrades their creativity, blah, 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 blah. But I'm like, if you want this outcome to be the same every time, then you got to do it consistently. And yes, you can tweak it along the way. I firmly believe there's no right plan. It's all about season. Like, there's a whole thing into that, but you got to tweak your plans as you go. I tell people that all the time. You can write a plan January 1st, and by January 31st, it's a bunch of garbage. And but if you tweaked it along the way, you might not have to throw it out. You've already tweaked it and you're moving on. So that is definitely something I work with people on, because I don't want them to throw a plan out 90 days later and feel like they wasted 90 days. No, tweak it as you go. Talk to people, your resources, so on and so forth. So yeah, for sure.
So that's actually a way that we can help other entrepreneurs and ourselves at the same time. Because we can outsource, we can be very concise and clear as to what we need from the people that we're outsourcing to. They can then deliver on what has been extremely clear. You're getting predictable results because you were very clear on what you wanted. You're getting what you need. They're getting what they need. They're being built in the process. You're getting what you need out of the space. And the more you can diversify as to who does what, the more you can get to a point where you can go, well, actually, now, because I no longer do I have to do the marketing, no longer do I have to do the sales, no longer do I have to deal with the numbers and the accounting in the background, and no longer do I have to deal with making all of these bookings, and the amount of time that it saves. You can actually go, well, why did I start my business in the first place, and what am I actually supposed to be focused on? Let me do that. Let me do that. Let me do the part that inspired me to do this in the first place. Because most entrepreneurs find that they start a business and they end up doing everything else except the thing that they actually started the business for.
Like lead generation 24/7. I did not start a business because I wanted 24/7 be generating leads. Like, I figured that out.
Yeah.
No, so I mean, that is where you can actually empower others. Is it going to cost you? Yes. But what is the value versus the time you would have spent versus the results you would get? Because you can clearly find somebody. I can always find somebody better than myself to do the things that I'm not very good at doing. I mean, that's what they specialize in. So why not let them do what they specialize in so that I can do what I specialize in?
What this is bringing up for me is I forget how somebody said this to me recently, but it's something to the effect of, entrepreneurs go into, for instance, for me, I went into business because I love to coach. Well, at some point in my business, I may not be the coach anymore, right? I'm the leader of the business, and I'm creating a business that is scalable, it's scaling, and it's functioning without me. I'm using that in air quotes, right? I know it's not without me, but this is where that leadership comes in, because when we're talking about making that shift, what is my responsibility as a leader? If I'm not the one doing everything, like finding the business, delivering the services and customer service and all of that, if I'm not doing all of that, what is my job as the leader? Now, I operate from, leaders have 3 responsibilities. The first one is to set that vision. knowing where is this organization or this team, what is it that we are moving towards? And can that vision be so internally compelling that the people on my team feel emotionally drawn into this and they want to achieve this vision even more than I do? So that's the first one, is, am I communicating a clear vision? The second responsibility of a leader is, am I developing my people? That's my job as a leader, is to develop my people. What is it that I'm asking them to do? What is their current ability to do it? And what is it that they need now to move on to the next level? The third responsibility of a leader then is to make sure that those systems work, right? This is to a fault on me. I love systems so much that sometimes I put systems before people because it feels good, right? I can control all of that. People get messy. They have feelings and stuff. They have their own ideas and stuff, right?
I'm very busy.
So as we shift, as our business grows, I think we have that identity shift from I'm a coach or whatever my business is to I'm a leader of a coaching business or whatever my business is, because my identity is attached to different responsibilities. And if we don't make that shift, then we're going to try to scale our business always by coaching. And Sandra probably could tell stories about leaders who didn't get out of their business. Didn't get out of the way of their business growing.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I think if you're the person that is responsible for everything in your own space, then the business will only grow in regards to your capacity.
Exactly.
And we all know that as entrepreneurs, it doesn't take much to stretch us to extreme capacity, where we are like, we just can't anymore.
Yeah.
Whereas if we had a different approach, and it's just a slightly different mindset, we had a different approach to how do we actually do things, and we put ourselves in a space where we are meeting others and we're seeing who they are and we're seeing what their skill sets are and we're seeing what they specialize in. And we're like, well, wait a second. Why am I doing my own marketing?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Why am I doing my own lead generation?
Mm-hmm.
Those things, and you guys that are so systems orientated will be like, well, it's very quick to create a system that you can actually, if you're doing X, Y, and Z, to turn it into a system and then give that system to somebody else to actually follow, and that person following it happens to be a marketer. So they will take a look at your system and go, oh, actually, you know what, if we just add this and we just do this and we just do that, perfect that system together, and they're doing what they do best, and you focus on what you're doing best. That's the part of the story where you're stepping out of your own way.
Yeah.
That's how you step out of your own way. But if you go, no, to me, I must do the marketing. Well, I hope you've got a candle that burns at both ends, because there's just so much.
Yeah. And it's very costly. And I think that that's one of the things that we don't pay enough attention to is what are we paying? So if I'm not going to pay money to leverage out these roles, what is the price that I'm paying? And I would argue, based on my own experience, that we pay with our personal relationships. We pay with our financial security, because we do chase after solutions. Well, maybe that I'm not going to leverage it out, but if I buy this software, this program is going to do everything for me. And so I'm going to drop a boatload of money over there. I'll learn how to use it as I go. Well, that never happens for me. And we pay for it in our own sense of well-being, because we never find solace. There's never no problems that we're trying to solve. We don't even give ourselves permission to celebrate when we do hit a win, right? We may notice it like, oh, there's that benchmark I've been working for years to get to. Yep, today's the day I hit it. Great. What's the next benchmark?
That is so me. I'm so guilty. Like, I don't even want to be here. I know everyone can see I'm so guilty.
No, but
Nestene, I'm the same way. I get it.
Oh, thank you.
But you know what? This is where a lot of the thought process, and it may have been a messy thought process, came into being. Was during the Fempreneur course. You know, the course is not just a course. You know, a course is a bunch of information thrown together in a way that you learn it, and then once you've learned it, they test you, and you can prove that you know what you've learned. Then they give you a certificate, and they're like, "Congratulations! Now leave as fast as possible because the next inflow of students is coming in."
Yep.
And all of a sudden, you're like, "Okay, I've got a piece of paper now. I'm qualified," but it doesn't give you the nitty-gritty of what do you do with the information that you've learned. It doesn't give you that. It just goes, "Good luck," you know, pat on the back. It doesn't really do anything. So the Fempreneur course is actually not just a course. It's a course that is developed and ingrained into an actual community of coaches, and of the 9 coaches, they are from the community, but they're not the entire community. Their community is full of people like Mary, like Sandra, like there's bookkeepers, there's graphic designers, there's content creators, there's podcast creators, there's like all those different, there's marketing strategists and agency owners and virtual assistants and VA agencies, and they're all in one space. How much more can we do with a student if we teach them that this is what you need to know? But I'm not going to give you a certificate. I am going to put you in a space where the coaches that taught you, where they hang out, where they exist within their community. And I'm going to give you access to that community, and you're going to get to hang out with the coaches and the coaches' friends that all have different skill sets. And now we're going to take what you've learned, and now we're going to learn to actually apply it to go from thought to created to reality. Now, there is nothing worse than a professor of entrepreneurship.
Because
have you ever been an entrepreneur?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Like, I mean, my hat off to a professor at a university that has actually been an entrepreneur and then has decided to go and teach entrepreneurship.
Amen.
Instead of taking the textbook and going, what does the textbook say? I learn what the textbook says, and then I teach students what the book says. And then they must go and take that information and try and do the best they can with it.
So that's like learning how to shoot people from a textbook. I don't think it's going to work.
Excuse me, Mr. Robber. Let me just read this book. Step 1, pick up the gun.
Please hold.
Please hold. Would you just wait while I get this right? Life doesn't work that way. So I think entrepreneurship should be taught by real entrepreneurs. Yes. And I think that the student shouldn't just be given a certificate to go, okay, you know what you know now goodbye. They should be drawn into the community and actually, how do we take what they've learned? We now know who they are. We know what their business is. We know what their strengths are. We know what their weaknesses are because we've been through all of this in that space with all the coaches. We know what their dreams are. Now, how do we as a community include them in our community so that we can actually make what their dreams are a reality? Because we're giving them the tools to actually do it. And we're giving them the contacts to actually make it happen. Creating the space where they can think outside of the box and go, well, actually, I'm not going to be doing my own marketing because I've built a relationship with a marketing strategist. Oh, I'm not going to be doing my own because I've built a relationship with a virtual assistant, or I've built a relationship with a coach that's going to guide me even further, or I'm going to so many more opportunities. So it's not just a course. And I think that's how we create a space where we are actually helping others, actually helping entrepreneurs create their own success stories, not by making them excited by some speech that doesn't actually help them when the speech is over.
Exactly.
But doing something real. And I think this is where I'd like to take my hat off to a lot of the people in our space, where they've actually seen what that community looks like, and they've become part of how that community functions. It's been incredible.
Ladies, this hour has flown so fast. I cannot believe it has been an hour already. I literally can't believe it. You have been absolutely amazing. I want to, before we go, remember everybody, Mary and Sandra's links are going to be in the description down below. So go and connect with them. They're some of the best entrepreneurs that you'll ever meet. Like, I promise you, like, you've seen it for yourself. Aren't they just the most amazing people in the world?
Actually, even if they're not the entrepreneurs you want to meet, I guarantee you they know the entrepreneurs that you do want to meet. So you're going to want to meet them anyway.
Definitely.
Sandra, tell us just quickly what it is that you do. So people just know, and then Mary will do the same with you, and then we'll wrap up.
Thank you, Nestene and Peter, for the platform. As always, love chatting on Mondays. I am Sandra. I am the owner of Get It Done Coaching and VA Services. I am your goal accountability coach. I help you set the goals, create the action plans, and then hold you accountable, helping you stay in your zone of genius, as we talked about, so you can outsource the rest. Yeah, I covered everything.
Awesome.
I'm having this feeling that, like, Sandra, like, you're like kind of like Mary's other half. I don't know why I'm feeling that. I just feel like this could be very, very good. Mary, tell us what you do.
I am a mindset coach for conscious entrepreneurs. I help them live their purpose, expand their impact, and to do all of that with ease. Because let go of the struggle. We do not need to struggle along the way to do this. So that's what I do. I have a podcast called Fully Alive. And on that podcast, we talk all about these topics, some of them that we've talked about today, all of those mindset and those leadership challenges that get in the way of us really being our best selves. And conversely, how do we use that system, our mindset system and our leadership to bring out the best in ourselves and in others?
Absolutely amazing. Ladies and gents, entrepreneurs around the world, like, these are like some of the best, most amazing ladies in the world that you just need to know. So just send them a message, tell them, saw you on the show, can we please have a virtual coffee? And I'm sure they'll be more than happy to connect with you. Their links are in the description down below. It's been amazing spending another hour with you. Thank you so much for helping us create this safe space. All the links are down below. And other than that, we will see you again next week. Until then, may all your wildest entrepreneurial dreams come true. And remember, you have us, so you have hope.